Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us once again for our second match of the best of three between Oxygen EU and Nettle. Oxy EU, they're currently up 1 games to 0. I'm Pythium Goom here with my good friend Gems. He's not my friend.
Wow, I thought we were friends.
Yeah, I
I, I'm, I'm
tricked you.
completely, I'm completely heartbroken right now. I don't know. My whole life has lost meaning.
Wow, you don't need to be that sarcastic. Gosh. But no, we are here with our second match, and we're going to get through this match eventually, guys. Thank you once again for joining us. And game one was. It had its share of plays there. There were some great moments from both teams, but in the end, our Oxy EU boys, they let us breathe.
Okay, let's just jump straight back into the housekeeping. Let's ignore the horrible jokes coming out of Pythian today.
That wasn't even a joke. It was just a pun. Come on.
But okay. In the meantime, while we're still here, don't forget to tweet at us at hashtag PCLEU, and also Match Arena code PCLEU is also up. So don't forget to hit that donate for people. We're sitting currently at $72 donations. Let's try and get that up. There's still some free codes there for people to use, and it's free. You can use the code, and it helps out all these teams.
Yeah, make sure you use the code PCLEU to get that free dollar. It's like that fisherman on the insurance commercial. If you watch the same commercials that I do, he's like, look, I found this free dollar. Well, that's literally what you can do for these teams. So give them that free dollar. Use the code PCLEU. Also, if you want to hashtag join the conversation, use the hashtag PCL on the Twitters to tell us a couple things about the game, show us what you are doing, maybe even send us a couple of images of your awesome setup for watching these games. Some of you I know have those huge projector screens, and I probably think that some of you are watching it on your phone as well. So welcome to all of you in whatever way you watch, and use that hashtag to join the conversation on Twitter. And you might even have your tweet shown on the stream. And next on the stream, we do have a draft for you guys for game number 2 here. So let's just get on and see what these guys are cooking up for game number 2.
I really like to see if they're going to switch up these picks and bans. In our first game, we did see Deca and Rampage both being banned out, two high priority picks. Are they going to let one of those through this time around, though?
Well, we shall have to see. Nettle, they are the ones to ban out the steal this time, and it's going to be a Grux ban from Oxy EU. So the bans from last time, throw them out the window because they're not happening this time around.
No, they're not. It leaves up both Deca and Rampage. Oxygen EU really respecting Pachapa on that Grux. He did pose a lot of issues for Oxygen in that last game, making it incredibly difficult for them to take any convincing fights in the early stages. And I mean, it does leave up a lot on the board. I mean, we now have Rampage that's up. Deca is most likely going to be first picked.
Yeah, it is first pick for Nettle, so you can just
Yeah.
have that one answered right there. And the next two from Oxygen EU are going to be the Rampage and Aurora. Eisen, once again, wanting to pick that hero up.
Aurora, it's again, Oxygen really loves to play the champion, even though she has a slower jungle clear. Before Nettle get that purity sensor has always been the strongest point in the game for them. For Oxygen, that's when they punished a lot of Nettle's plays. Later on into the game, we could see if they can get a pick on the support basically before the purity sensor goes off, or on the steal. We saw Ronnie Tube dying a few times before the Aurora ultimate went off. There was a lack of purity sensor for the rest of the guys to be safe.
Yeah, there was a lack of purity sensor as well as a pretty big lack of Hunter's Guile as well. So we shall have to see if we get any kind of change in strategy from Nettle, because they do not have that steal anymore, and I highly doubt that we're going to see a solo Decker trying to get levels for a containment fence. Moving on with the draft, we are going to see Nettle picking up the Sevrog once again, as well as Emrak's Sparrow, which has received a little bit of priority. We've seen a lot of Emrak Twin Blast, but Nettle, they're dialing it back a little bit here and pick up the Sparrow again.
Again, it's a strong pick, but this time they do have a Deco on that team along with the Sparrow. That containment field can allow Emrak just to wreak havoc. I say it time and time again, but Sparrow's ultimate with a containment field means that Oxygen are really going to struggle to deal with it. Before they didn't have that, they had the steel shield as a pseudo containment wall sort of thing to block some of the projectiles, but that was about it. You could see the power he had in the last game, always taking a couple of kills every single fight, and now he's got a much greater avenue to do it in as well.
Yeah, so that Decker containment fence, kind of like the unfair battle arena where you just trap people inside it and then you take pot shots at them from outside of it. We'll have to see how Nettle are going to be able to utilize that in this game. Also, the Sevrog. We talked about it a little bit in the last match, and I would assume that Nettle, they have a bit of a different plan for it this time.
Well, it depends if Nick Eagle's going to go into the offlane or if it's going to go into their jungle on Chapel with the Grux ban coming out. I suspect it's more likely going to be in the jungle. It's a strong pick, can get really strong early game ganks. Again, it depends. If Nick Eagle's on it, we might end up seeing a similar scenario before where he wasn't able to get a strong impact throughout the entirety of the game. Kind of just ended up being forced to deal with a Muriel who would then just ditch him and just go and join the rest of his team, leaving him by himself and a 4v5 situation against Nettle, which wasn't ideal.
Next couple of picks for Oxygen EU. It's going to be a Howitzer and Gadget. So that's a bit of an interesting setup. I would assume that Itzeray is going to be playing one of those with Talkfoot taking the other. Talkfoot pretty accomplished on most mids, and I think he was one of the few people that was even willing to play a Fae in the mid lane. So he's definitely one of the more accomplished mid laners in the game. So I don't think he cares which one of these heroes he ends up being on. But going with the dual caster setup, that's a little bit strange here.
You don't see it too often, but if you look at the team that they're against, there isn't going to be too much to put a lot of pressure in that duo lane or the 2v1 lane. If they do go for the 2v1 lane, sort of the standard setup and not put two in the mid lane, which also could happen. But Gadget can farm from a really far distance. Howitzer has that mine, so if they do try aggress on him, he can mine them into his own tower. They're going for an incredibly high burst composition because Aurora with Tesla Dome with Make It Rain, that is going to decimate the entirety of Nettle's team if they can combo that together.
And also, in terms of what Nettle can pick now, it takes two of the stronger casters out of the game, so you're basically left with a Gideon, maybe a Fae, Iggy and Squirt. No, I'm just kidding. But it definitely does limit what Nettle are going to be able to take here, since they haven't really prioritized that position at all in this draft.
Yeah, it does do that, but I most likely go for a Gideon pick unless they have another composition that they have lined up with other heroes. Gideon does work okay. Isn't the strongest mid
Well, wait,
laner.
hold the phone, because it's not going to be a Gideon. We've got our last two picks from Nettle, and it's going to be a Feng Mao and a Countess.
Feng Mao, strong offlane, one of the few left. I mean, Quang was also up, but with the composition Nettle is going for, they got a mixture of like team fighting with the Sparrow and the Deca, and then we're gonna eliminate one single person with Feng Mao and Countess. They can dive the backline, incredibly mobile champs, can avoid Aurora incredibly well, which is probably the main reason for taking it. Can dodge Hoarfrost. Countess can even blink out of the cryo as well from Aurora if she does it at the right second. So it's incredibly tricky and a lineup to catch coming out from now.
And also, it almost makes me think that we're going to be absolutely see that dual mid from Nettle, putting Emmerich on the Sparrow and then the Ronnie Tube Decker there with her on the mid lane. So that's going to leave Countess to a solo lane in one of the sides, as Feng does get that as well. So they're immediately going to be going into a kind of setup where they prioritize those heroes on getting levels up early, and we won't really be seeing the rotations that we saw in the last game with Albapia sitting in the mid lane for a while.
No, it's going to be a tricky match to call because, while on paper, Oxygen do look to have the stronger lineup, just in terms of the amount of power they have in the current picks. Nettle, if they can get a couple of picks here and there with this sort of assassination style composition, with Feng Mao counters sort of being the mobile targets that make Oxygen's life a little bit trickier to hit, counters being able to blink and dodge a few hits. Feng Mao being able to jump around as well with the dash. Um, if if they can get to level 5 before Oxygen do and use those little bit of advantages they can gain in the early stages, they can snowball incredibly quickly. Counters with a couple of points extra can be terrifying, and I don't think there's going to be much to be able to protect Klinghoffer if that happens.
Yeah, so that's something that we're definitely going to be looking for as we get into this match. The Countess putting some huge damage on the Kling and forcing... I mean, it's not a Muriel this time around. It's not a hero that can put out some shields. It's going to have to be a Rampage that is actively trying to protect Klinghoffer's Murdoch as he tries to get some good farm, which he did in the last game. But I think that we are just about ready, well, nearly ready to get into our second game of the best of 3. Just gotta switch these team names around a little bit. But if you look at these lineups, Gems, who do you think is going to have the advantage just off of these heroes?
Just off of composition, Oxygen, I feel like have stronger draft here. Um, the issue is they don't have they have a big wombo combo, but if they miss any big part of it, they can fall incredibly flat. It's incredibly reliant on them being able to hit the majority of their spells onto the entirety of Nettle, or just even onto Emrak. If they can burst out Emrak, Nettle loses a lot of their damage. But the thing is, Nettle can do the same thing back in their own way. So they can have these two guys, sort of the duo bruiser slash assassin guys, who can just dive the backline onto Klinghoffer with a lack of protection for Klinghoffer that could end up spoiling demise as well for Oxygen.
Yeah, so it's going to be revolving around supporting and keeping these heroes alive, and it might just come down to a firefight who's able to kill more people. And well, obviously that's what games usually come down to, but in the fights, whoever's able to kill more people faster just hit those abilities. So with that being said, I think we're ready for game number 2 here. Let's start it up in 3, 2, 1, go. And this is going to be the second game between Oxygen EU and Nettle. Oxy EU currently with the 1-0 lead. But here on the side of Nettle, we've got Puchapa playing the Sevrog with maximum disrespect. Emrak, he's got his Sparrow. Ronnie 2 playing the Decker. Abelpi, he's going to be playing the Countess over here. Nick Eagle is going to be playing that festive Feng Mao.
And on Oxygen EU, we have Nerf on that Rampage. Tokflit on his Howitzer. It's Array on that Gadget. Klinghoffer on the Murdoch. And Eisen on that Aurora.
We've seen so much Eisen Aurora over the past couple of days. You can tell that he's put in a lot of practice on that hero. And interesting, we don't see a whole lot of teams going for as many dummy wards anymore. They just put a couple down on the map and very quickly get back to the base. So it's specific players now. It used to be everybody would just get wards, throw them out all over the map and be done with it there. But now we're starting to see more people get active around the map at the early game before they put wards out.
Yeah, the wards it's an interesting one. You don't really lose anything by getting your entire team doing dummy wards, but if you want to go straight to the lane, if a fight breaks out, or if you're expecting a fight like Oxygen EU did in the first game where they do a strong invade, they can get back. Their recalls might be a little bit late, so you'll see things like the carries maybe not grabbing a ward occasionally, but you still see the majority still grabbing it.
Taking a look at these lane matchups, it's going to be Gadget versus the Countess, and Countess should be pretty okay in this matchup. She can use the Shadow Slip to dodge the Sticky Mine damage, and should be able to put some good harass onto the Gadget as well, but it's really just who's able to work around those cooldowns a little bit better. So basically, Countess cannot Shadow Slip until she sees that mine come out from Gadget and know that she can avoid the damage. Otherwise, she's going to start to take a lot of harass in that lane, and we already see a very early rotation in from Puchapa. Has a green buff available here. He's going to go up to the high ground and around. Tries to get some damage on the Itzray, but he's been scouted out by a ward, so he's going to quickly change his mind and get back into the jungle with that green buff.
We're seeing the 2v1 setup here from Nettle, taking inspiration from Oxygen, who love to do it. And
Oh, the
they have
rotation
been
from
pushing up.
Pachapa. He comes in from behind on Talkfoot, but Aizen is going to get the wraparound as well. Talkfoot moving himself back with the landmine, and Glacial Charge is going to knock things around a little bit. Aizen dissuading the rest of Nettle from going for that kill.
We can see as well, Nick Eagle with this Feng Mao has been trying to get a couple of creeps here and there. He is kind of going to be the one that falls behind the most.
Oh, the stun hits on the Talkfoot. He's taking a lot of damage from the Sparrow, but he's created the distance between himself here that is going to allow him to get away. And there's so much damage going on in the mid lane. Locks of harass on the Talkfoot, but these guys are staying alive for now.
Yeah, this is the thing. Talkfoot in that mid lane will still be able to get a lot of farm. Whereas Nick Eagle, with how Oxygen EU has frozen the wave by their tower, he's going to get XP and no farm along with that. He has to really be patient on his farm, and he's really going to start falling behind in terms of levels, whereas Topflit in that 2v1 situation won't have that problem.
So Nick Eagle definitely looking for levels here, using the jungle camps to be able to at least get a little bit of that there, a little bit of farm. But Klinghoffer and Nerf, they've done a really good job of freezing that lane up there and making sure that It's Array not able to come to lane at all, just because it is so damn scary there.
Yeah, it is a pretty scary lane. That mid lane as well, we have yet to see Ronnie Tube and Emrek make a sort of big impact play. They tried to get some poke on the top plate here and there. I'd like to see Pochapa try and force something across the map once he recalls him.
Oh, the stun hits on the Nick Eagle, and he's going to get that shield up on himself. And looks like Oxygen EU, they've had mercy onto him, allowing him to get underneath his tower to safety and teleport back to his base. But they do, again, force him out, get some farm on Kling, and they keep dominating that lane, making sure that the Feng Mao can barely get any catnip.
What I really liked here in the mid lane is that when Emrek needed to recall and spend some points, Deca just hovered in lane a little bit longer, try gain a little bit more XP while Sparrow isn't around, doesn't really need to recall, only has 3 points. As a support, that's not too big of a deal.
Yep, Ronnie Tube, he knows that the battle as a support is just to find as many levels as you can. And that is definitely a very difficult pursuit sometimes. Rock comes in from Big Daddy Nerf, but he's not going to be able to pick up that buff. Instead, it goes over to the Decker. Meanwhile, Pachapa has been caught out inside of the river, looking for a rocket from downtown. Talkfoot was able to hit it, but it's just going to force Pachapa back into his own jungle and away from the fight. He should be able to recall back whenever he wants to, and is even going for perhaps a little bit of jungle farm here, since he still does have a ton of mana.
Yeah, we do also see OBPA has hit level 5 on that Countess. Is this where we see the sort of aggression coming out from Nettle? Pachapa is still only at level 3, so it doesn't have that colossal blow.
Well, they do have to be worried about the fact that It's Ray could just put the Tesla Dome on top of it. And although Abupiha could do some huge damage as the Countess, he still has to stand in the middle of the Tesla Dome in order to deal it out during that ultimate. So there's a possibility that even with the huge burst of the Countess, that Oxygen EU are going to be able to turn it around a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of the main issue with Countess is really needs to take advantage of her ultimate, just go around the map trying to get picks wherever she can. We haven't seen that yet. OPS just at level 5, sitting at 8 points, has got the maximized points on the upgrade on the ward. Points across the board, It's Array is doing well. He's sitting at 9, Klinghoffer is sitting at 9, and you can see the difference is that Topflit is at 8, Nick Eagle's at 7, even though they are both in the 2v1 scenarios.
Nick Eagle is getting a little bit of help from Ronnie Tube, as that Big Daddy Nerf Rock is going to be very difficult to contest against here, and that lane keeps pushing on up. So Nick Eagle will continue to find it difficult to get up to level 5. Wraparound from Pachapa. He has been scouted out by a ward, and It's Array, he might have been a little bit late in trying to get away. Subjugate is going to hit. There's some huge damage, and I don't see It's Array getting out of this one. The feast is there, and Abupiha finds the easy kill with a nice rotation in from Pachapa, hitting the Subjugate there.
Meanwhile, Nerf and Kling, as they saw that, went incredibly aggressive onto Nick Eagle, but weren't able to capitalize to get that trade in the other side of the map. So well played from Nettle getting that early kill. You can see the power of the counters. This is exactly what they needed from over Pierre to grab that early stage.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want as a Countess. As soon as you get that level 5, you don't necessarily want to rotate to a different lane. You'd much rather other people come to you, since you do have that ability to just get into a fight very quickly and get the lockdown that you need in order to find kills. Plus, you don't really want to leave the lane, because the goal as a Countess is still to get a huge level advantage. Stun misses on the top foot in the mid lane, but it's much easier if you're that kind of hero like Countess to, ask for a rotation from your team and then get the aggression when they hit stuff, rather than going into other lanes and showing the other team that you're missing, so that they know that that gank is coming in pretty soon.
Yeah, and if we go back again to these cards, it's a racing at 10 points, Topflet at 9, Nerf sitting at 9, and Klinghoffer sitting at 11. Hasn't gone back to spend though, Klinghoffer, sitting on a vast majority of those points, which could be punished here.
It could be punished, but it hasn't punished yet, which I think is the main thing. He's had some help from Nerf as he's trying to defend this tower. One thing that he doesn't want is Nick Eagle being able to put in a lot of damage onto it, and he's not feeling under too much pressure either. He's very confident in his abilities to stay alive against a Feng Mao, and Murdoch should be fine against pretty much any aggression. Probably going to see him back up in just a little bit as Nick Eagle starts to look for some aggression in case Klinghoffer put himself in a bad situation. Another rotation out onto Itzaré as Pachapa is here with his Sevrog. Meanwhile, in the river, he's finding it very difficult to find an actual target here.
Yeah, it's looking a bit tricky from both teams. I mean, yes, there is one kill on the board, but I mean, it's coming out a nice little invade here from Nettle, just stealing this green buff. Even though there are two in the mid lane from, I mean, yeah, two in the mid lane from Nettle, they still get their camp stolen, which shouldn't have happened in my opinion. They should have the numbers advantage in a lot of these rotations.
Well, Ronnie 2 was doing some things elsewhere on the map. He was actually going for the Amberling, taking that away from Oxygen U as he is going to hit the stun on the Klinghoffer, but Nick Eagle a bit too far away in order to go for some damage there. So Klinghoffer stays alive, and the rotation from Ronnie Tube is going to lead to them giving up their green buff, although they do take a little bit of the Amberling. So a bit of a trade and economic advantages there, but still these players are extremely close in the early game, and it's going to take a little bit more time before we see any kind of separation.
Yeah, again, it's going to be, we're both seeing the similar things of the previous game where neither of these teams are focusing on the early game Raptors. And it looks like Aizen is trying to just grab a pick. I don't think he's going to be able to get anything off of it.
It's difficult to find a Countess. He just wanted to find some kind of utility out of having the green buff, but it's not really time for that, and he hasn't been too effective with the cryo, hasn't gotten involved with the rest of his team, so that's something that they haven't really used at all. It's just been Aizen getting farm inside the jungle. In contrast to the last game where we had something like 8 kills in the first 10 minutes, this time we have just 1.
Yeah, but in the previous game, we saw an incredibly aggressive level 1 strategy from Oxygen where they went as far straight into Nettle's jungle.
Klinghoffer in some trouble. Colossal blow back as Pachapa gets knocked underneath the tower, but he's just a Sevrog and he's so tanky. That's the second death of the game here for Oxygen EU as Klinghoffer ends up dying here. Again, rotation from Pachapa leads to a kill. He hits the colossal blow, and it's pretty easy to land everything else after that.
Yeah, this is the thing with leaving a Murdoch in a 1v1 lane isn't the worst scenario for Nick Eagle. Nick Eagle, once he gets a few levels, he can actually duel the Murdoch. If the lane is pushing against him, he can just dive onto him and kill him. But with the help of a jungler, it's essentially a free kill every single time on the carry.
Yep, you just gotta hit those abilities, which at this point Nettle are doing. Now Aizen with the Horfrost and the Cryo out onto Ronnie Tube. The Rock is going to hit as well. They set up that kill very easily, and they're at least going to find some kind of revenge here on the Nettle, taking the Decker kill. Now Itzaré also trying to get away from the Countess. She is relentlessly chasing him down. He gets away through the fog wall, and that is some aggression that Aquapia cannot capitalize on right now, with Itzaré knowing that he had to back up and using the ability of vision to be able to make sure that he doesn't get hit with any of the things that Countess could do there.
Yeah, you can see the stacking of the crowd control coming out here, not allowing Ronnie Tube to even move a bit. You saw the whole thrust into the ultimate, into the howitzer mine, and it's one on top of each other. This is the main reason crowd control is incredibly strong right now, because you can stack them one after the other. You don't all just use it at the same time. You'll see most of these teams will never use all their crowd control in one go. They'll stack it on top of each other. It doesn't allow any room for counterplay for the team, and you can see Ronnie Tube just falling, couldn't do anything.
You guys are like, you Paragon guys, you're like, man, this CC is so strong, I'll get stunned for like 8 seconds or something as the rock goes on the Apopiha. Talking about stuns, long over the wall is there. Shadow Slip over to Itzray and the Feast as well, but Itzray always taking so much damage here, and Apopiha actually finds that kill. Is he even going to die here? Big Daddy Nerf, he's big, but he can't find the arm strength that he needs. Just power through those minions. Looks for the rock. It's a bit ambitious though. Hits onto the tower a couple of meters away from Apopiha there.
I really loved what Pochapa did. He came in late and then used the Sevrog, the figure of Sevrog, to just stand in the way of Nerf and Obapia, not allowing him to get those auto attacks, which allowed Obapia just to walk away freely. Obapia was in a bit of a tricky situation, but they did manage to turn it around. He managed to survive just long enough, so they managed to get 1 kill out of that.
So going back to the CC point, like you guys talk about how CC chaining is something that like all these good teams are gonna do, and it's so strong, and yeah, it's strong. But I come from another game where it's like, oh, you could get hit with a 4 or 5 second stun, and that is just something that happens in the game. So it's something that I'm a little bit more used to than I guess some of the people here, but it is definitely something to think about in this game, where I think that the card system maybe isn't as forgiving as it is in other ones, where there are very specific cards that you absolutely have to pick up if you want to get around the CC, and if you don't pick them up, you're basically left to the mercy of the other team while you're just taking stuns to the face left and right. There's the cryo out on the Ronnie Tube in the mid lane, and he's going to get hit by it. And the Hoarfrost on top of it as well. Aizen knowing the chains that he has to make in order to find the kill there. As Pachapa, he's just looking around at his big hammer thing and says, man, what else can I do on this map? And it might be to go on to Klinghofer, as Nick Eagle did get rather low, but it's just going to be a D word from him, as the long arm of the wall doesn't really look like it hit much on the Nick Eagle. Probably couldn't have gotten the kill there anyway.
Nick Eagle still had that shield saved for him, and
Hoarfrost, Pachapa, he's gonna be stuck there for a little bit, and that subjugate did hit on the Talkfoot. Landmine pulls him back, and that will be another kill going the way of Aizen, and the blue buff to Talkfoot. So Aizen again in the right places, which is something that we've seen from him before. He just knows where to be on the map and get the control that he needs on the heroes, and then has the communication that he needs in order to get a little bit of help from his friends.
Yeah, he has been doing pretty well, but however, sitting at 17 card points, Pachapa sitting at 16, only a slight lead in that. I mean, he has been doing pretty well in terms of farming in comparison for Pachapa, but you can see the difference in the way they're playing. Pachapa's been trying to grab kills, been trying to look for ganks here and there, hasn't been able to get them, so that's kind of been the main reason why he's been falling a little bit behind. Just that 1 kill successful gank from Pachapa, I mean, with Obapia in that off lane, but it's looking like Nettle have still a slight lead in general. Not too much. Kills are even across the board. And Purity Sensor is now out from Ronnie Tube. So is this where we see the changes happen?
Well, it's not going to be the case anymore where the Aurora is able to go solo onto a decker and just use that cryo. So she should know that the purity sensor is up. Got to be checking those items all the time. As Pachapa, he's going to come in here. Ronnie Tube, okay, he's going to get the subjugate as well as a stun bubble. It is time for Ronnie Tube to come back here. Hoarfrost dropped down, and they've dropped a lot for that without a whole lot of follow-up at all. That's very strange to me.
Yeah, Pachapa just went back into his jungle. Hasn't got a really good way of getting up that lead without grabbing an early blink, which it's not likely on a Sevrog. Emrak was at his creeps, and a lot of the crowd control had already gone down. So it was a bit of a miscommunication, I think, from Nettle as to what they could do.
Yeah, especially since Containment Fence is a pretty long cooldown at level 1. That's something that they're not going to have for about 2 minutes now, so that just seems a little bit strange to me, but we'll see what Nettle are able to do after that. Got a rotation over to the lane from Big Daddy Nerf and Talkfoot, but they'll stop at the ward once again. I think that this Sevrog Countess combo is something that Nettle needs to capitalize on a little bit more this game. Maybe put some more hurt onto Itsurai, who's sitting here at pretty low mana. Wouldn't really be able to do anything to defend himself. And this combo has worked pretty well before getting a couple of kills. As more of Oxygen EU are focusing around the OP pit. Hit back with the landmine on the Ronnie Tube. They're going to get that Decker once again. And the long arm of the wall from Klinghoffer. That is a control. The absolute control from Oxygen EU to find yet another kill on the poor little Ronnie.
Ronnie has not been given a break this game. He's really been the target of Oxygen right now. And you can see straight away Oxygen going for an 18-minute Raptor. We haven't actually seen these Raptors come out as much as we've seen in other teams doing it, but that is just the state of the game and the way these teams have been playing and the way they've been rotating and whatnot. They prefer to go for the fights and for the kills, which then goes to 2v1, 2v2 trades, and it means you can't really go for the Raptors afterwards.
Yeah, so with that, Oxygen EU, they take the first Raptors of the game, and this is the earliest that we have seen those in this best of 3 set. And perhaps Oxygen are feeling a little bit more confident this time around. They don't have that bugbear of a steel ultimate just staring them in the face. And with the containment fence also being down, they knew that they had the ability to go for those. Abapia still at level 10, so he is out leveling everybody on the board right now. And maybe looking for some aggression to Itzray, but he's very aware of the fact that Abapia coming around the side there with his ward being dropped down. So he'll be able to get himself back to safety for now.
Yeah, he is, and we're seeing the card point lead grow. It's already at 21 points, Klinghoffer at 25, but Overpeer is putting in a lot of work on that counter, sitting at 26. The furthest ahead in general, but overall card points is in Oxygen's favor right now.
Yeah, that's just what you want to do as a Countess. You want to stand in the lane, get as much farm as possible as you look for a level and card point advantage and try to turn that into a couple of team fight wins a little bit later. Because Countess, while she can drop her load pretty well, once she's dropped it, she doesn't really have a whole lot of ways to survive. So she just has to wait for those cooldowns to come back up once again. And, well, she's going to get met by Itzray in this lane, who puts down the ward, keeping himself safe, and gets back to farming. Or does he? Because here comes Abapia. He's putting some damage. Now the Tesla Dome dropped down and the Feast is there. Another bit of damage is going to end up doing it for Itzray. And Big Daddy Nerf. Oh, he hits a rock on the Abapia. That one hit should be it. Jumps for it as well. And they'll trade the 1-for-1. Big Daddy Nerf getting the revenge out onto Abapia's Countess. So it's going to be a 1-for-1 in the off lane. And then it's just a Rampage staring around saying, oh, look, I got some farm now.
While that is a 1-for-1 trade, that is actually pretty scary. Countess being able to take down Itzray in that 1v1 means that Itzray now cannot just sit in that lane without being incredibly fearful of what might happen. Countess now knows she can take that 1v1, she can now start pushing pressure, and now 2 people need to be in that lane to deal with Overpeer.
Yeah, perhaps it's even a situation where we're going to see an early blink out from Itzray, knowing that his build really cannot keep him survivable against that Countess anymore. I think she probably could have done it earlier, but, you know, especially if more of the harass starts to come out from Countess, it's not really a lane where Itzray can feel safe all the time. So it's going to be something that he keeps pushed out, but he's not going to be able to box the Countess all that well.
One thing to note here is Oxygen is trying to gain some map control. Gonna try just gets a couple of hits on this Amber Link. Not gonna gain too much from it. A little bit of denial of that CXP coming out, and it is gonna be scouted, but not much is happening right now. This is the thing. Raptors, there's only gonna be 1, maybe 2 up at this point in time. Nick
Oh, here comes the cryo out on the Abapia actually, and that Countess, who's put in some work, can do it no longer. Aizen gets the kill, and Gang Squad out. They just frag down Abapia and take care of that Countess, which probably gives Itzray a little bit of a sense of peace of mind there on the left lane. And he's going to go and try to kill this tower here.
It does give him a little bit of free time. Nerf just trying to look for something here in this mid lane.
You miss every rock you don't throw. May as well go for it. But we do start to see the towers going down. Itzray picks one off, and we still have a couple of those heroes on the mid lane for Oxy EU. With Kling, after that little bit of aggression from Feng Mao, he's been feeling pretty good for most of this match and has been farming up the top CS on the board right now. So he has been being pretty free on this right lane and hasn't needed a whole lot of help from anyone else as well.
Yeah, he hasn't. Also, looking at this 1v1 that Kling has been sitting in, it's actually been working out pretty well for him. He gets to sit here for farm for free while his team just sets up pretty nice long arm with the laws for him. There's so much CC in control, he just gets a free long arm with the law every single time his team goes for something. They're going to grab this one raptor that is up. Probably going to hand it over to Dotflit. Just give him a little bit more because he is sitting at 15 card points, unless that is the visual bug. I believe that is a visual bug for me.
That seems like a visual bug as well.
So I have no idea what Tocklit's building or what card points he's
or
at.
what level he is. He's definitely not level 7. So poor Tocflit. Even the UI won't cooperate with him. But on the mid lane, we do have the tower taking a huge amount of damage. Should end up falling here. As Oxygen EU, they have a complete grasp of the aggression on the map right now. Aizen ready to go on to Nick Eagle or at least take down that tower. So in a blink of an eye, we've got 2 towers falling. All the tier 1s down on the side of Nettle. And we start to see that stranglehold tighten for Oxygen EU.
And it looks like Nerf might just end up getting caught here. A bit slow in the rotation and...
Oh no, he's going to find Pachapa. Pachapa in a huge amount of trouble. Hit with the Horrorfrost the Rock, and that CC is going to end up in another kill. As perhaps we start to see that cascade of events. Now we do have an update on the card points for Talkfoot. He's at 34 actually right now. And perhaps Gems can update a little bit on his build. But Aizen is going to get hit with the Feast here on the mid lane. Uses a Horrorfrost. Does he actually get out of this one? What is this Aurora player here? That's just how the hero goes. You might have dropped so much on top of him, but he's going to stay alive. Blinks away from Nick Eagle. Glacial charge out. They can't catch this girl.
It's just Aurora things, I guess. Hashtag Aurora things. Just things Aurora can do and will do every single game.
So before we get any further, let's talk about the Howitzer build.
So Howitzer's at 34 points from the last time we've heard. We do have our lovely admin sending us updates while we do have this visual bug on screen. Has got a couple of admin edges. I can't see the upgrades and a meltdown. Probably just power across the board. Maybe a couple of health. Just a strong build in general. No blinks coming out from him on the mid lane. Just full out power and aggression.
It makes a lot of sense to go for as the Howitzer. So hopefully we get those build updates coming in throughout the game. Again, special thanks to our beautiful and sexy admins doing a ton of work here, bringing you the Twitter updates, hashtag join the conversation, hashtag PCL, and also giving us the card points, the builds when the UI gets messed up, and pretty much anything else that we need. They even brought me a coffee earlier today. So once again, thank you to our... They didn't bring me a coffee. Thank you to the admins for doing a beautiful job here in the PCL, really making it its heartbeat. Heart all aflutter.
I was about to say, I'm like, coffee? I haven't gotten any coffee.
Oh, you need to get better admins then.
I see how it is. I see how it is.
Yeah, yeah, you got to get in with them. Do nice things.
Looking across the board, we do have double tele blinks on Oxygen, grabbing that quick, low cooldown blinks on 2 of the guys, and it's just out of curiosity. Are you having a sort of weird disco party thing happening on stream where the screen glows brighter than the sun?
Sometimes. In any case, oh, beautiful stun on the Abapia. Long arm the wall, doing some damage there as well. Hit by the Horrorfrost. Make it rain is there. Abapia, beautiful stun from Big Daddy Nerf. Stopping that feast right in his tracks. And now we've got Nettle on the defensive here. After that turnaround from Big Daddy Nerf. What a play from him. Aizen, you can tell that he wants to put some pressure on the Nettle right now as Emrak, he's way too far up. Hit with a nice little hat from the Haberdasher gadget. And the rock from downtown nearly actually hit Emrak there, but we're going to have some aggression onto a tier 2 in just a couple seconds from Oxygen EU. They're going to put the pressure out here with Abapia being dead. The top CXP member of Nettle right now is off the board, allowing Oxygen EU to take the tier 2 tower. They're not going to go any further though. They are going to respect Nettle for now. Subjugate onto a few, and the landmine is going to knock Talkfoot back. Now the containment fence is going to keep 2 members off the Oxygen EU there. But nothing else is going to happen off of that one. They're going to be able to get the disengage and retreat away from that fight, losing nothing, taking a tier 2 and a hero.
Yeah, this is the thing. Even with the containment field, if Emrak doesn't have his ultimate available, isn't much that's going to be happening. There isn't huge burst coming out from Nettle with Overpeer being down. The burst is Overpeer right now, sitting at 35 card points. Has got 100 Guile on top of the counters, which allows him to just escape just a little bit more of that crowd control coming out.
This is not good at all. Cryo onto so many heroes here, and the purity sensor used by Decker. Oh no, Aizen. He knew that he had to go in. He had to stop that prime, but perhaps it was a little bit too early. Maybe he didn't have to be so urgent with that. With his team arriving, I think he just found a good opportunity for it, but he had to know that the purity sensor was going to be there. Perhaps it was even a situation where maybe he just goes in, doesn't use a cryo, but puts a Hoarfrost down just to disrupt things inside the pit. But in any case, Aizen does die, but stops the OP push from Nettle.
Well played by Nettle from actually just peeling off that old prime and going for the kill. If they had stuck onto that old prime, it would have allowed for Oxygen to just catch up, rotate, and potentially get a couple of picks. So good, quick thinking coming out from Nettle. Take the pick, take the quick advantage that we can. They are falling slightly behind right now, so that does help them get a little bit more. I mean, Aizen was 4-0. He is going to get the bounty of that kill onto Nettle right now, and we can see across the board, card points are... Well, I'd like to say pretty equal, but I still don't know where Topflit's.
Yeah, I think Topflit's quite a bit ahead right now. It's unfortunate that we have to have that UI thing happening, but we do see his position on the map at least. Imagine if he was just stuck in place for the entire game. That would be annoying to cast. We just see rockets out of nowhere like John Cena. But these guys, they are still dewarding around the OP pit. And Topflit getting a little bit far up there. Thinking about going for some more D-wards. Have to be careful because the rest of this team has yet to show up for this one. And Sevrog is pushing elsewhere on the map, so they can't really spend too much time here just looking for a siege.
No, Push-Up has already set up that slow push and is on his way. It means that Oxygen, while they wanted to try force this or prime thing, they had to do it incredibly quickly. They didn't go straight onto it. And have been hovering around the map, trying to look for a pick. It forces its array to now go and deal with that wave, and it gives Nettle an advantage here.
Yeah, they're going to have to go and push that wave out. And also, a Countess is sitting around there as well. Maybe looking for its array, who always has to be careful of the burst damage that can happen, especially with no help from his team. Now, with the ward advantage around the pit, all right, we do have a bit of that disco party there. So it's on and off for me. But the OP, he is going to be started by Oxygen EU. And Nettle, they're pretty far away. Decker is in the area ready to help out. Nerf is going to be the one to tank this though, and it's not really the fastest OP in the history of OPs here. Klinghoffer taking a while to do it. Now, we'll have to see if Nettle can get into this one. Aizen's going to start to take a lot of damage, gets away with the Frozen Simulacrum, and that is going to be the prime going the way of Oxygen EU, and they are able to escape the scene of the crime, going to 42 Wallaby Way Sydney with the escape as they get away from there, go into the jungle, and they've taken the OP and stopped Nettle from having any kind of an advantage for the next couple of moments of this match.
Yeah, really well played from Oxygen. They saw Countess appear in that far side of the map. The second they saw her show up on the vision, instant or prime, it was going to be a 4v5. You saw Aizen running diversion, sitting just around the old prime, not allowing any of Nettle to get a nice clean path into the pit.
Oh my god. Check out that party though.
Yeah, it's just glowing everywhere across the map right now, and it
makes me pretty happy, honestly. I'm happy to have a party. Parties are cool. But we are going to see Nettle looking... Oh, nice blink away from Klinghoffer, away from the subjugate. Now, they have forced it out, but with the aggression being found out by Oxygen EU, Nettle are going to have to back away from that, especially with the mid lane. It's pushing in so hard here. And the thing is, I don't know if Nettle are going to be able to recall for this one because they're being chased away by the rest of Oxygen EU. Klinghoffer still farming out that lane. The only one here to stop it is Emrak, and he's got no support either. The cryo out on him. He's going to use the Hunter's Gala to be able to avoid it, and he's going to hit with the long arm of the wall as well from Klinghoffer, and finally Nettle are surviving, able to go and try to defend this in hit, but it's going to be way too late. Make It Rain drop down. Aizen, he uses that glacial charge to get up the wall. Ronnie Tube again abused in the mid lane. Nick Eagle, he's going to be able to just walk around that Hoarfrost, but these guys are getting chased away from them right now, and they went for the aggression, but it's not going to pay off at all. Colossal blow underneath the tower, but Nerf is not taking the damage from that as all, as the minion was underneath it, who did have the aggro. Now, Abapia does find the kill onto Big Daddy Nerf, but he is among two members of his team alive here. Nick Eagle and him, the only ones able to survive so far. Now, Oxygen U, they are looking at their hands a little bit here, trying to find their next move, but with so many members of Nettle being down, they could definitely go for the core right now, especially with Klinghoffer being up. Now, they have a couple of heroes to work with right now. Aizen in with the Hoarfrost. They're actually just going to go right for the core. This could be it. Indeed it is, as Oxygen EU take our the first step and the first spot in the finals of the PCL EU.
Now, we saw Nettle yesterday doing some of the best plays we've seen against Oxygen A, who are the top team. Now, today, Oxygen EU showing up. I mean, taking this match when it looked like it was an incredibly strong match from Nettle. They had really strong composition in the first game. However, the second game, they were not able to use their composition to their full effectiveness. You saw Obopia did get ahead a bit in the early, but wasn't able to capitalize on it. Wasn't rotating enough, wasn't getting enough kills and exerting that pressure of the counters. That counters can do a lot more than what we've seen.
Yeah, and check out Talkfleet, even with just 55 minion kills, which I know is a bug, and 15 card points, he was able to do so much in this match. Just speaks to how good of a player he is to be able to work and do so much damage from behind. Sorry. But you know what? As someone told me, the best thing to do when there's an elephant in the room is to address that elephant. So, hello, elephant, Talkflit. But they do win this first best of 3 of the day, so they'll be moving on to the finals to face the winner of Oxygen NA versus Carbon. So, the first side of the All Oxy final has been decided. Will the other one be able to again be Oxygen, so that we have the NA versus EU matchup that I'm sure that club would definitely like to see? I guess only time will tell.